Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome back to A Time for Truth show. It's a pleasure to be with you. And here in New York, it's starting to get warm. Springtime is coming. And with that brings a tremendous uplifting feeling, rejuvenation. Things get created again. And the world is anew. And with that in mind, we have a very special show tonight. But first, a little housekeeping. Many of you have been asking, how do I become a member? How do I subscribe? Very simple. Click on YouTube, find the Time for Truth show, click on the subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a member. There's no fee, there's no charge. You'll be availed of all the episodes over the last 6 years to become part of this movement of bringing truth and sanity to our world. And with that tonight, we'll bring some truth and sanity to what do I do with my smile? How do I get comfortable? What is healthy for me? And does oral health equate to overall health? And so tonight we're going to meet with a special guest who's making time for us from California, Dr. Paul O'Malley, an engineer. There we go. There's a picture of Dr. O'Malley, who's an internationally trained dentist, specializing in biomimetic and holistic dentistry. He'll explain that more to us. With more than 25 years of experience transforming smiles through minimally invasive care. He earned his mastership in biomimetics from the Alleman Center for Biomimetic Dentistry in Utah, and further advanced his expertise through specialized international training in Italy. For over 2 decades, Dr. O'Malley has been an active member of the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, a leading organization promoting safe, biocompatible dental practices. He's also a fellow and the current vice president of the Academy of Biomimetic Dentistry US, where he helps advance the science and practice of tooth conservation. Throughout his career, he has completed hundreds of full mouth reconstructions and delivered over 10,000 veneers, mastering advanced techniques for ultra-thin, natural-looking restorations, restoring confidence in great-looking smiles. His philosophy emphasizes careful planning, precision, discipline, integrity, and artistry in delivering results that range from the subtle to the dramatic Hollywood transformations. Earlier in his career, the doctor specialized and operated some of the largest dental clinics in Texas and New Mexico before relocating to his present address in California. He later appeared as a featured dentist on TLC's hit makeover series, 10 Years Younger, showcasing his tremendous ability to transform smiles on national TV. Beyond his clinical practice, Dr. O'Malley is an author, a patent holder, and founder of Great Oral Health, a Los Angeles-based oral care company whose probiotic and nanohydroapatite and naturally based products have helped hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. He's also recognized for his expertise in the safe removal of mercury using the IAOMT SMART protocol, and for restoring teeth in ways that prevent cracking and future fractures. He's driven by a passion for health and aesthetics and is dedicated to helping patients achieve smiles that are not only beautiful, but strong, long-lasting, and most importantly, biocompatible with your health. And Buddha, if you will, let's bring on Dr. Paul O'Malley to A Time for Truth show. Welcome, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dr. Ben, thanks for having me. This is my second time on the show, and I'm always impressed with your introduction, not just of me, but I mean just what you're doing around the world and all the accomplishments you made. So it's an honor, again, for me to be on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and that's what this channel and really the truth is all about, is bringing leaders like you who are innovative, who are actually at the cutting edge. And so it's our honor. And, you know, let me get right to it because you have so much to share.
Sure.
Because many people think of oral health as being separate from the rest of the body. So I wanted you to please explain to our viewers how periodontal, or what we call gum disease, and oral inflammation are actually connected to conditions like heart disease and diabetes.
Well, you know, and as you know, my background in philosophy has been in holistic dentistry. So holistic dentistry just means we try to tie together what's happening in the mouth and how does it relate to the body. So for a long time, we were aware that if there's inflammation in the mouth, there could well be inflammation in the body. And lo and behold, the American Heart Association, various other associations, as you know, being a periodontist or gum specialist yourself, we now see the direct link between gum disease and cardiovascular or circulatory issues, because all that happens, it's their inflammatory markers. So if we have inflammation in the mouth, then there can be body-wide inflammation. And if that's the case, the body's working 24/7 to wipe that stuff out. And if a person's enzymes, their antioxidants like glutathione that naturally are made in the body, if they're being depleted because of infection in the mouth, inflammation in the mouth, there's no leftover for the rest of the body. So it weakens the whole body. So anybody out there watching the show, listening to the show, it's very important for your own health and the health of your loved ones to make sure your gums and your teeth are healthy and that there's also no infection in the jawbone, because these things can exacerbate any type of illness in the body.
So important, you know, because a lot of times people think that somehow these are just teeth and they think of them as fingernails, but no, they're more like your fingers and the rest of your hand. They're attached to your body, and it's so important what you're doing. So when you talk about this whole body approach in dentistry with your patients, what does that really mean for them in terms of how you practice in your office?
Well, in my office, for example, in the hygiene department, we have a microscope. We call it a phase contrast microscope, so we can see the different types of bacteria that are in the mouth. We don't see them by the strain, but we can see at least their size and shape and the preponderance of different bacteria. So we try to make sure we get the bacteria in the mouth under control. We try to make sure that there's the basic telltale signs. Shouldn't be bleeding. If people suffer from bad breath, if they have tooth decay, all these things are caused from an imbalance of bacteria in the mouth. So how do we get a balance brought back to them? Because if we get balance back, Mother Nature is pretty brilliant. So if we get balance back, Mother Nature will begin its healing process without just trying to kill everything that's in there. Because you know well too, if we kill all the harmful bacteria at the same time we're killing the good bacteria, it has a negative long-term effect on the body. And the bad guys, once you kill them, it's like clipping a rose bush. They come back with fury, you know. So the real magical key is to bring about a balance, put in enough good bacteria. Patients can take these advanced probiotics now. There's so many things that people can do to help bring about their own ability to restore and rebalance their own microbiome.
Very, very important, you know, because there have been so many articles recently showing how the bacteria in the mouth are related to the bacteria in your gut, and that really that those bacteria affect our nutrition, affect our immunity, and affect inflammation, like you said, which really there's a lot of studies now showing that all the diseases really come from inflammation, and they're all, the common denominator is, like you said, well, what you're doing in your practice is if we control that inflammation, we control the disease progression or initiation or precipitation. So it's so important what you're doing. And, you know, that's what leads me to this question, because I don't know how often we think of these things, but you do in your practice, is that the biocompatibility. How is this material going to affect that person, that patient? So, you know, tell us a little bit about biocompatible materials. What are they really? And what are the things that patients should be concerned about before they allow something to be done in their mouth?
Well, it's a great new evolution. It's a bit of a buzzword, biocompatible. You hear about biocompatible dentists, you hear biologic dentists, holistic dentists. They're all kind of holistic dentists. They're trying to find or use materials that are the safest if we're going to be rebuilding teeth. So biocompatible just would mean that there's a serum test that a patient can do. It's a blood test, and they test against a whole family of different ingredients, let's say, different composites, different filling materials, all the way down to dental implants, etc. And a person can see up for themselves, are they somewhat compatible with that material? That's a type of test that they can do, like the Biocomp test, or it used to be the Clifford test, which to me was the best, easiest test, but he passed away, and now they're trying to get his technology into someone else's hands. So hopefully they do this year. But it's a real easy test, a blood test, and they test it against all these different materials. And then they go, okay, you're good with this and this and this. And they customize it to the dental materials. So not only are we trying to handle inflammation, but we're trying to, whatever materials we put back in the mouth, we want them to be BPA free. The different plastics that are out there or that are in composites, we don't want them to slough off and create mild, moderate, or severe allergic reactions. And just for the people watching today, those reactions are very, very rare. Most of the reactions to composites are localized, and they tend to go away over a period of time. But you can find composites that are BPA free, that are safer. You're going to spend, the dentist has to spend a little bit more. But fortunately, I do biomimetic dentistry, which means we're mimicking the tooth structure. We're trying to rebuild the teeth in layers so that we mimic Mother Nature. Fortunately, the best and gold standard materials for that also happen to be BPA free. So we lucked out in that arena. In other words, those composites flex the same degree as our natural teeth. So anyway, going back to the biocompatible part, it's just basically, what are the materials that we're going to use in restoring someone's teeth, their mouth, etc.? Is it known to be compatible? Do we have any history of it? And if we're not sure, people can get a test done for themselves.
Very, very, very interesting. I'm curious, with the patients that you've had, and as you've done this, can you relay some stories of what they've commented to you, that when they first came in, and then let's say a month or two later, after you had done some of your work, what they had mentioned to you?
Well, sure. I mean, this is a pretty unusual one, but or extreme one, let's say. But a patient went all over the world, went to the Mayo Clinic, went to Germany, etc. She had a rash over her entire body. and she had some old composites in. I said, well, let's test. And so we tested. I said, well, we could try to take some out and see if you improve. So we ended up taking those out, and everything went away. She ended up, all she had left was a little dime size hive that eventually even resolved. So, I mean, who knew? But you're going to go to the medical doctor, they're not going to know. The dentist typically isn't going to know. So you have to sort of wear your Marcus Welby MD hat and or your Dr. House hat, for those that have watched some of these series out there, where you got to be a super sleuth and kind of figure some of these things out. That's one. And I had another one that had the silver amalgam mercury fillings in, and this fellow went all over the world as well. He had fibromyalgia from the neck down, severe burning, absolutely awful. I said, how are you sleeping? He said, I sleep about 10 minutes at a time. I don't really sleep.
Wow.
So he had a mouthful of these silver mercury fillings, and he was working with another healthcare provider that's centered to my office. And so we removed one half side, cleaned all that out, and we remove it in a certain protocol so that they're not getting exposed, we're not getting exposed, keep everything safe. Even though there's some controversy, oh, that mercury, you won't get sick, this and that. It doesn't matter. Why not be err on the safe side? So we keep our patients safe, ourselves safe. So I took half out, and then I saw him about 4 weeks later, and his burning was now only from his waist down. Wow. And then, of course, it was quite interesting. He said, doctor, do you think it could be from those mercury fillings? I said, well, you know, it could be. He goes, well, I think we should continue. And I said, okay, let's continue. So we removed the other side. And last I talked to him, this has been more than 10 years ago now, but he only had burning in his big toe. It was eliminated, his fibromyalgia burning pain.
Amazing. And, you know, something I want to bring out, because I've seen this aspect too. And you talked about Marcus Welby and House. And, you know, there was like a feeling, even though it was a TV show, it was very interesting. There was a feeling they exuded. And it was like a very comforting, secure, warm feeling that they exuded, that some people call it bedside manner. And the Surgeon General of our country, Dr. Vivek Murthy, MD, just recently, a few years ago, came out with this big article on how social interaction actually affects physical disease, not mental, emotional, but physical disease scientifically. And,
wow,
you know what? It was amazing. So what I was going to ask you, because this is the second time we had you on the show, and you give this like aura, you have confidence, but you're like, I call it mellow. You're like mellow. Do your patients comment to you on that?
They do actually, but it's one of the qualities we like to provide in the office. We want to make it a Zen-like atmosphere for our patients, and it's at the top of my scale of, let's say, goals and purposes in my office, that I wanted to create an environment that was very Zen-like for my patients, but also for my staff and for myself. So I have a unique practice that way. I'm fortunate. I love it. That's why I'll keep practicing, because it's such a joy. But I like to see one patient at a time. I take my time with them. Some say it's more of a European style practice, where we see one at a time. We're not, the traditional practice, and I don't fault it at all. Some dentists love being super busy. That's totally fine. But mine is one-on-one, and I like to have a healing attitude toward my patients.
Well, it comes across, and, even though we're in a TV show and you're on one coast and I'm on the other, I can feel it over here in New York, and I'm sure your patients do. I've a periodontist for 45 years, and it's funny, since we're here to do the show to help the people, sometimes they come into my practice, and it's funny, they're a new patient, and they're in the back, and they're talking to my assistant before I get in, and the assistant says to me, Doc, the patient said that as soon as they walked in the front door, they knew they were in the right place. So I say to the patient, Why is that? What did you see? Did you like the colors or whatever? And the patient goes, no, 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 no. I can just feel that you're good people. And, so I really compliment you on what you're doing.
Thank
Because
you.
it's, oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's so important. It sets an example. So what I wanted to ask you, how do the techniques that you utilize and the material that you utilize, so the patients can understand, because you gave some success stories, how do you feel that helps the body's natural ability in restoring itself?
Well, I always say I think the body's just such an amazing thing, because even if I remove the mercury safely or I do whatever like that, the body still has to heal itself. So these illnesses that people can get, they can be so multifaceted. So if a person's in an environment where they're constantly being, let's say, harassed or made fun of or or oppressed in some way, they just don't respond as well. So what I do is I try to make my office a safe place for them to come in. They can talk to me about anything that they want to. And in doing that, I feel like we're balancing the physical aspect with the emotional side. And as a result, I feel that their immune system can actually start improving. Of course, in my practice, we do nutritional counseling and things like that. Not tremendously in depth, but we basically find out what they're doing. We work with them on that, because I know once we get the mouth healthy, they're going to have a resurgence of energy and they're going to start feeling better. And so now we want to help them maintain it. So I put together simple ways that people can improve their oral health. I'll tell you one of the great things, obviously a side pitch for my company, the Great Oral Health Company. I have all these natural products. It's basically kill the bad bacteria, put in the good bacteria, and let's remineralize and strengthen the enamel and create great fresh breath. But one of the things that I always tell people, one of the best things they can do is the age-old remedy from mama, which is cod liver oil. Take your cod liver oil every day. And there's such good studies on it to show that it can help the gums, it can help prevent tooth decay, it can strengthen the hair, skin, nails, collagen in the body. It's like a miracle nutrient. And that's the biggest thing I could throw out there for anybody that's watching today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I want to actually validate, because it seems like what's happening in our world is the more things are moving forward, we're finding out that these simple nutritional steps and foundations, like you just mentioned, are so important, and like you said, also the environment that we live in, which I think really, as part of the show, we should really let the people out there know, not only is it dentistry, but we have to take a look and see, well, maybe, or not maybe, but probably, and almost more surely, we should probably be doing that with our environment in general, because it makes you realize that, heck, if it's working in a dental office with dental healing, what would happen if in LA and in New York, people decided they wanted to make July 4th every day, or Hanukkah or Christmas every day, because you get that mellow feeling that always comes during the holidays. So I think it's fantastic what you're doing. So I'm curious, because you have your company and you've really done this for a number of years. How do you feel that imbalance of bacteria in the mouth affects overall health?
Well, the biggest thing is, now, of course, there's links and studies that inflammation of the mouth, periodontal disease, tooth decay, there's also an imbalance in the third brain, which they call the gut. But listen, if there's an imbalance in the mouth, there's going to probably be something going on in the gut. But now there's a greater link to Alzheimer's. And so it's like, wow, how can this be? And it's linked also to insulin resistance. So there's all these specialties all around, and they're starting to merge a little bit together. So I always say, here's one thing you can really control. You can control brushing, flossing. You can control taking an advanced oral probiotic to put healthy bacteria there. The women do that, and they within weeks they wake up in the morning and they don't have bad breath. Their teeth feel fresh. It's because we're giving the body the things that it would normally have if we didn't have the onslaught of the busyness and stress of the world, coupled with our mainstream nutrients that are deficient or maybe excessive in our foods, etc. Like 100 years ago, you wouldn't run to your refrigerator every 10 minutes to go eat something. You know, people would eat 1 or 2 times a day. There was natural fasting. It gave the pancreas a chance to relax. Insulin wasn't being driven all day long. Even 30 years ago, there was the size of a large Coke, I think, was 12 ounces. Now it's 24 ounces. So it's just this bombardment to the body of all these nutritional things, which basically is driving insulin, which is driving inflammation, and we see it in the mouth. And if we can get it under control in the mouth, there's more reserves for the rest of the body to take care of itself.
You know, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I practice very similar to you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show because really it puts us out for all the viewers. And really, I think for any dental professionals who are watching this show, that, you know, to check this out for themselves so that the profession can actually lead. I think dentistry has a big role it can play, and we're natural counselors. We help people, like you said. You know, we're at the end of the show, so I wanted to ask you, what final message do you want to put out to those people watching this show?
Well, you'll probably appreciate this. I'll tell people, only floss the teeth that you want to keep. Number one. And flossing and really doing it well is probably the best thing we can do for young women as they're going to grow in through puberty and become beautiful young women because of all the hormonal changes they have. If they can really floss well and keep their gums healthy, they'll have less recession and gum problems going forward. And lastly, if you're looking for the latest, greatest things in oral hygiene and oral care, and you want to have super fresh breath, feel free to visit my website, greatoralhealth.com. I'm super proud of that. I started that 20 years ago with my daughter in my kitchen, mixing ingredients, because I said there's got to be a better way to find more naturally derived ingredients to bring about really fantastic oral health. So I appreciate you having me on your show. And floss, floss, floss. That's the best thing I can tell people.
No, absolutely. And if they want to contact your office, what is your phone number?
Well, the best way to reach out to me is if they just go on the website, which is just drpaulo'malley.com, because there's multiple numbers and they can reach in. They can also get my free holistic dental course, free to anybody. It'll educate a person from A to Z on dentistry, and you'll feel like you know what the heck is going on. If you're going in to see the dentist, you'll be able to say, well, what about tooth number 25? What about tooth number 28? You'll know the teeth numbers. You'll know what's what and the importance. And but you'll also learn about biomimetic dentistry, holistic dentistry, what's the latest in dentistry. You'll learn about dental implants, you know, a little bit of everything. So you'll feel armed really well. So that's at drpaulo'malley.com.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to have you. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but have a very good night out there in LA.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And for those of you watching, we'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Have a very good night.
This show was sponsored by Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet